Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talking Tunes. I have with me today Christopher Wyze. Hello, Christopher. Thank you for joining me.
Great to be here, Stacy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we are doing a Christmas series. 'Tis the season. I cannot believe it is Christmas already or Christmas time. It seems like it just creeps up on us so fast, faster and faster each year, or the older I get, it seems like. But it is that time of year. You've got a couple of Christmas songs out that we're going to talk about, and so much more. But if you will, go ahead and tell everyone, introduce yourselves and yourself, and tell everyone just a little bit about you before we dig into everything else.
Yeah, I'm Christopher Wyze. I'm with the band Christopher Wyze and the Tellers, and we're a relatively new band on the scene. Our first record came out a little less than 2 years ago. It was called Stuck in the Mud, and we recorded that one in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. But before that, you're saying, well, you don't look like you're 20 something, Chris. No, I'd been doing work in bands, cover bands, and so forth forever. So really, that was our first effort at putting out songs that I wrote with others. So we've been around 2 years or so. We put out a second album called Live in Clarksdale. That was released in July of this year, excuse me, April of this year. And we did a show in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and we filmed it and we recorded it and we released that as our second album. And we got word, I don't know, a couple months ago that our first album, Stuck in the Mud, received an award for the best new artist debut album from Blues Blast magazine here in the U.S., which we're delighted about. So our music has a blues bent to it and a little country flair too. But they're kind of cousins, country and blues.
Oh, yeah.
And then we started as a recording band. A session project is really what brought us together. So we didn't even know if, hey, is this going to go anywhere? Are we going to need to put a band together and put us on the road? So to be honest, we've just started playing out in front of people as Christopher Wyze and the Tellers. I played in bands for many years out in front of folks. So have the guys in my band, but we're relatively new. So what we have done is send music out to our fans rather than the other way around. So we looked at Christmas as just a great opportunity to get to do some more music. And so we went in the studio. You mentioned Christmas creeping up fast. We did our Christmas songs in one day. We did two of them, and that was on September 25th in Memphis, Tennessee. We recorded at Royal Studios our two songs, Christmas in Jail and Heart's Christmas Blue.
Ooh. And fun songs they are, and there's a story behind Christmas in Jail. That is a much, much older song that you actually did a remake of, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's even older than me, Stacy. And
Yeah.
it was 1929. That song was originally recorded by two guys from Indianapolis, Indiana. That's where I live. It's my hometown. I've lived here most of my life. And so I've got a real thing for Leroy Carr and Scrapper Blackwell. That's the two guys who recorded that song. And they recorded many other songs, and in fact, even recorded some of their music in a hotel room here in Indianapolis. Their first big hit was called How Long Blues. Sold 1 million records, one of the first selling records in America. I was recorded in a hotel room here. So I'm a real fan of Leroy Carr and Scrapper Blackwell. It's kind of cool that they're from my hometown. And
Yeah.
I bet between the two of us, there's more between us here too than folks in Indianapolis who've really ever heard of them. They're not really very well celebrated, but I'll tell you what, back in the 20s and early 30s, they were a big deal. So we knew we were going to record a new original Christmas song. And then I thought, hey, we got the band, we got the studio, we actually filmed. And so we did videos of the session. I said, hey, we got to do another song. And I was familiar with this song from Leroy and Scrapper, Christmas in Jail, and had to do it with the band. So
Yeah.
that's where that came from. And, I have to believe that probably Leroy Carr or maybe Scrapper, but maybe Leroy more than anyone else. Maybe he spent a little time in jail and maybe on Christmas too. So it's a bit of a tearjerker,
Might be a bit of a
but
true story.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. So I really dig the song, and it was just so much fun to make it.
Yeah. You want to do a little bit of that one for us to start us off?
Well, it's in a flat key. I'll have a little. The blues come falling, they fall like drops of rain. The blues come falling, they fall like drops of rain. I got to spend my Christmas locked up in jail again. Okay, that's all I'm going to give you. You're going to have to listen to the rest of the recording. I'm a little better with the band behind me, but hopefully that was okay for the folks.
Oh no, I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's just something about the harmonica that just fascinates me. I have this is why I do what I do here. I have zero music talent whatsoever. So I am in absolute awe of anyone that has not just singing ability, but the ability to play musical instruments, and especially the harmonica. That just completely fascinates me that you can take that little bitty instrument and make such amazing sounds come out of that. I mean, music come out of that. And it is so bluesy. I
Yeah.
mean, it
You
is
know, it
bluesy jazz. It is just
yeah.
perfect for that.
I think people I think they think of these as toys, a little bit.
Yeah.
No question. I'm sure I had a little 59-cent harmonica when I was a kid. I don't remember, but it's a German instrument. I kind of have become a history of a little bit, or become a historian a little bit, study the history of the kind of music we make. But it was done by the Germans, and they created these things to be like oompa bands. So they'd go like this. So that's Three Blind Mice, and so they would do that to they made these things so they would play those chords. But then some of these blues guys here in the U.S. When they started creating blues music, they took this thing and they turned it on its head, and they learned how to create notes in here that aren't on the instrument.
Yeah.
They created them. They're bent notes. So that would be a bent note. And so, it went from a German oompa kind of musical instrument to just a down in the dirt blues machine. And,
Yeah.
people call this a tin sandwich. They call it the Mississippi saxophone. And man, oh man, it sure makes a sound, doesn't it? And
It
it's so
does.
simple to learn. It's so simple to
Is
learn.
it
Stacy, you
really?
could learn this. But then you spend a lifetime trying to get halfway good at it. And I don't think I'm halfway there, but
Oh, it
it's
sounded
a
pretty
lot of
good to
fun to
me.
play.
You say simple to learn, so maybe it's simple to learn, but so much harder to perfect it.
Yeah, I got a piano sitting there across the room, and I haven't ever learned to play the piano. I might plink around on it a little to get ideas, but the harmonica, it makes chords when you just make air go in and out. Now,
Yeah.
the piano doesn't make chords unless you put your hands in the right position and know which keys to press. So I guess from that regard, the harmonica is really easy to get started with. All you do is breathe. You go out and
Yeah.
in. And in fact, one thing just curious about the German instrument is most of the German music that would be played on here would be blown out. So you would blow the harmonica. Very few notes in the blues are blown on the harmonica. They're actually drawn in. So people say, I'm
Oh.
going to blow the harmonica. Well, blues players pretty much draw the harmonica. They draw the air in, which becomes a little bit of a challenge in itself because you only got so much room in your lungs to play notes. And you got to figure out how to get rid of some air every once in a while. And that's a bit of a
Yeah.
trick of a harmonica player. So,
Oh, interesting. Yeah, very interesting. So, how did the Tellers come about? The name?
well, I went into the studio in Muscle Shoals in 2022 not even knowing what we were going to come out with. I had a handful of songs, about a dozen or so, to record with my colleague, friend, and mentor, Ralph Carter from California. And we created this music. We produced an album of originals and weren't sure what to do with it. I said, we're going to get a label, record label. And people told me I was crazy. You could look at me and say, well, you're just starting out. How could you do this? Well, the crazy thing happened. We did get a record label, and I needed a band name. Quite frankly, we just went into the studio to make the music. It was me and Ralph and Murph and some guys. And so to me, it was all about the roots of our music, which to me is storytelling. I'm a writer. Before I became a musician like this, I was a writer for many years. I've written books. I was an advertising guy. I've written all sorts of things. And so for me, I'm so fortunate to really arrive at the point where I needed to write songs with the ability to write words already sort of in place and sort of beat into me. I'd written for a magazine, a newspaper, on and on it goes, books, so forth. A 40,000 word book or something that, I wrote that kind of stuff. So writing a few hundred words in a song is a different game, but it sure helps to have had decades of batting practice, putting words together. And the cool thing about this, instead of a book where you really can't, I don't know, you can, but you really can't perfect every word if you got 40 or 50,000. In a song, I can try to get it just so. That's what's kind of fun about it. It's like you can really work these things to where you get it to say exactly what you want. So the band, The Tellers, is really an extension of my idea of our music, which is telling stories. And I think if you listen to our originals, my hope is that there's a story in there for everybody, that I want you to listen to the words and hang around for the end, because we're trying to tell a story.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, a lot of, I don't want to just say country music or
Yeah,
blues, but
yeah.
any good music should tell a story.
No question. I was listening to some country in the car with my wife the other day, and she goes, "You got to listen to this one. This guy, and he's got this, and he's talking about his girlfriend." And I'm like, "Oh, it's great. It's a great story." I mean, and there are universal stories in country music and in the blues music. A guy and a girl having a
Yeah,
tough time, something breaking down. Could be the
yeah,
tractor if you're, it could be the truck. It could be an old mule if you're a blues singer. Who knows? But there's some common themes in life that show up in these songs. And somebody asked me once, and I thought it was clever, so I'll repeat it. But no, I said I think the blues is kind of like the original talk therapy. I think these guys that made these songs instinctively felt better when they were able to tell them to others, and they told them to others through their music. And I think they felt better. And then the people who heard them felt better, because they're like,
absolutely.
I'm not alone. I have had the same feeling. I've had the same troubles. So I think
Yeah,
that's what's cool about, maybe the genres of country and blues in particular. They have a lot of stories like that anyone can relate to, humans can relate to. And I think that's really cool.
absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Like, you can turn on like pop music or rap music, and I mean, this is me anyway, and I don't pay attention to the lyrics. So, like, these people that say, "Oh, music is ruining these kids," and blah 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 blah. I don't know, not me. I don't pay attention to the lyrics of those songs. I just don't. Like, if I listen to that kind of music, it's solely for the beat, the
Yeah, the
groove. Like,
groove. Yeah,
I
totally.
don't dance.
Yeah,
I can't dance, but I will dance around my house. Like, if I'm cleaning
good for you.
house or whatever, that's
Yeah,
solely for
yeah,
the beat, the music.
yeah,
But if I want
yeah.
to get out of my head or get in my head, whichever the case may be, I'm going to listen to country or blues.
Yeah,
Yeah, even bluegrass.
I guess.
Um, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
something to where I'm going to listen to the words, the lyrics,
yeah,
to where
yeah.
something's either going to give me a good cry, whether it's a sad cry, a happy cry, or, something to where I'm just going to hone in on the lyrics.
you know,
It's good talk therapy.
Mom had my mom had music going all the time,
Yes.
and it was Nat King Cole and the Mills Brothers and Frank Sinatra, and I'll tell you what, man, I love that stuff. You
Yeah.
can you can understand the words they're singing.
Hmm.
To me, that's important. It's important to me as a musician, performer, recording person. I want people to be able to hear the words, and I
Yes.
know there's other music where it's more the vibe and the groove. That's cool
Yeah.
too. I like hearing Sinatra sing "Fly Me to the Moon." I get it, man. I
Yeah.
know. Fly me to the moon.
Yeah.
So I love those songs. I kind of grew up knowing that songs could make stories, and we also had a lot of Broadway musicals playing in the house. Music Man
Oh.
and My Fair Lady and stuff like that. And I could kind of conjure these stories in my head when I was just a little kid. She was playing that stuff all the time, and so it's fun to realize that you can have music that's also telling a story. So I think it must have
Yeah.
stuck with me somehow. Now I
Yeah.
get to come back and use that.
So that's kind of what your mom, what did your dad listen to the same type of music, or did you have a variety of
Well, I
music
don't
in your
remember him.
house? Or,
You know, Back in those days that, my mom was at home and my dad was off at work. So mom had the
yeah.
records going all the time when I was a little kid. I'm talking before I went to school. I just remember, all that music playing. So I think he enjoyed music, but I certainly heard it from my mom more than anything. Louis Prima was a big kind of artist that she really loved, and he's obscure today, but he was a crazy man, kind of just was an amazing performer, and I listened to Louis Prima a lot too.
It sounds like you had a variety of inspirations growing up musically.
Yeah, I then sang in high school. I was in a choir. We had a real good music department in my school. We would sing as 8-part harmony. I think, certainly schools do that, but we would travel around and sing a lot of places. We would sing the Messiah at
Mm,
Christmas time with an orchestra as a bunch of high schoolers, and
yeah.
it was pretty thrilling. So yeah, I guess I've had a bit of a spectrum of the music, and man, I kind of like it all. I like bluegrass, I like country, I like rock and roll, I like the blues, I like classical music, I like the great American songbook music, and some of probably rap and so forth. Probably not my thing at this point, but I like a lot of other stuff.
You sound like me. My Spotify list, if somebody looks at my Spotify, you're going to see such a spectrum of music. It's just such a range of everything. There's no, if I put it on shuffle, there's no telling what might come out. And
Oh, that.
I mean, my mom was, beach music,
Oh yeah,
Commodore's Temptations, and,
sure.
your basic, 50s and 60s music. And then
Yeah.
my dad was all country and bluegrass. And it was
Okay.
weird because, I was a 70s baby, 80s teenager. So, of course, I hated mom and dad's music when I was little.
Sure.
And
Why not?
of course, being 70s and 80s kid, I was all about Led Zeppelin and AC/DC and Leonard Skinner and,
Yeah.
classic rock music. And of course, your basic 80s music. But then, but because I was introduced to what mom liked and what dad liked, then as I got older, of course, now country is obviously my favorite. That just stuck with me. That's why I think I like everything now. And then,
Hmm.
of course, I grew up in Northern Virginia. And so, of course, you can't live in Virginia and not like bluegrass.
Uh huh.
And then, my other mom, she introduced us to Broadway. And
Oh goodness,
so,
yeah, that's good stuff.
yeah, so I've been kind of like you, just like introduced to
Yeah.
everything. And it's all
Yeah.
just kind of bits and pieces of it have all just kind of stuck with me. And I can like see the beauty in all types of music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just,
It's
yeah.
pretty incredible stuff. I'll mention an '80s musician or artist to you, Eddie Money. I don't know if that
Oh,
name
yeah.
rings a bell.
Yep.
Well, I can't remember if I mentioned Ralph Carter, but I said that I met this gentleman by the name of Ralph Carter in Clarksdale, Mississippi, about 15 years ago. I was singing in a cover band, and we were doing a lot of blues. And
Hmm.
I had picked up a harmonica and was kind of goofing around with it. And I found out that there was a week long, if you can believe this, week long harmonica camp you could go to in
Oh,
Clarksdale, Mississippi, to learn the blues harmonica. And I knew a little bit. I was playing it a little bit on stage, but I wanted to get better. And I went there and met a bunch of incredible musicians. One of them was Ralph Carter. And Ralph
oh,
was Eddie Money's bass player and wrote songs with Eddie Money, like Shakin'. That's a song that
yeah.
Ralph wrote. Well, Ralph kind of took me under his wing. He was one of the instructors there. He played in the band. He'd play bass, but he can also play guitar and piano and drums and so forth. So I remember being at that, and I went several times over several years. I'd go for a week. Each time I'd reconnect with Ralph. But Ralph at one point told me, he said, "Hey man, you can do this." I said, well, I hope so. He said, no, no. He goes, I'm serious. You can do this. We need to make a record someday. I'm like, well, I'd really like to play on your record. That'd be fun. He goes, no, no, you need to start writing music. You need to do a record, and I'll do the record with you. And I thought the man was crazy. I mean, this was a dozen or more years ago. I'd never thought for a moment that I would write music and do original music. And I remember going back maybe a year or two later, and he's like, "Man, you got to start writing music." Well, I remember one day I was at home. This was about 5 years ago, and I was reading an article in print, and it was about a new recording studio in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And this guy who had grown up there left and had his career, went off to actually Hollywood, I think. And he came back home after that career was over and bought an old mansion there and remade it into a recording studio where artists can come and live there and stay in the rooms and then make music downstairs in the studio. And I was goofing around. I had my iPhone. Here we go. And I took a picture of that article and I texted it to Ralph. And I said, Ralph, here's where we're going to record our record. And he texted back. I thought he would say, yeah, funny guy. And he said, okay, when do we record? And that was really, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, you're on, man. So he and I began to talk, and this was in about, I don't know, 2022. And we agreed we'll meet in a few months in Clarksdale, Mississippi, where we had met originally. And he teaches songwriting there. He teaches guitar, and he participates in these harmonica workshops. So he spends a lot of time there. And I said, hey, you're going to be there at this time between workshops. I'll come down and meet you. I'll bring with me a bunch of songs that I've written, lyrics, and I'll get it done, Ralph. I promise. And so we did. I met him in Memphis. I picked him up at the airport, and we went to Clarksdale, Mississippi, 90 minutes away. We stayed for 3 days. We took my pile of lyrics. We sat at a picnic table. He had a guitar, and I had a pile of lyrics and some harmonicas, and we made about 15 songs, and we recorded them on my iPhone. And then 3 months later or so, we were in Muscle Shoals recording those. And Ralph, having done this and been through it and been with Eddie Money, he was his tour musical director. He wrote songs with him. He, toured and performed, and he did all sorts of things beyond that after he was out and not with the Eddie Money band anymore. But he knew how to do this, and he said, "You just show up, man. You know these songs." And he auditioned the studio players. He put together the charts. He uh, was the producer for the sessions. And then I said, "Well, Ralph, what are you going to play on the record?" He said, "I'm not going to. I want to produce this. I want to produce your music." And so that's what he did. And when it was done, we spent 5 days there. We recorded this album. And later I said, Ralph, how do you feel, man? Not playing. Are you still okay with that? He goes, I loved it. It was great. I was able to think about the songs and how we're going to produce those songs and get the very best out of everybody who was there. And for my money, he did. That album, by the way, came out on July 19th of 2024, and just a few months ago was named the best new artist debut album by Blues Blast magazine. So
Yeah.
That's the album that we did in Muscle Shoals. We actually, I said we didn't have a band name. Well, we signed a record deal with a label in Memphis called Big Radio Records. We got a publicist on board who knew the blues world. We looked at the record real hard and said, hey, we need to do a little more blues with this record. So we went to Clarksdale, Mississippi, and recorded 3 additional songs and added them to the original Stuck in the Mud album. And that became the record that got us going as Christopher Wyze and the Tellers as a studio band. And I mean, we hit the Roots Music Report charts, the Big Blues chart, the UK blues chart, iTunes charts. We've had several. We had a #1 song on the Roots Music Report blues chart. We've had top 5 songs on iTunes in countries around the world. We've had
Over
streaming in
90
90 countries.
countries, I believe.
So this is crazy for a band that only existed for 5 days in a studio. I mean, that's what we were. We weren't put together to go on the road and play, and so that's how this whole crazy thing started. And then
Yeah.
we went and did a second album. I said, hey, we got to show people what we're like as a band and playing live. We
Yeah.
put a different group of people together. We went to Clarksdale, Mississippi, and recorded live in Clarksdale, Christopher Wyze and the Tellers. We filmed it and we put that out. And that album was released in April of this year. It was actually even submitted for Grammy consideration, so we're tickled to death about that. But we're not going to win it this year. Didn't get the official nomination, but just to be even considered or put in for a nomination,
Yeah, that's
is pretty
huge.
cool too.
Yeah.
So and then it's like, well, what do I do next? Our band's not out there playing. It's like, well, we're going to do some Christmas music. So that's where we got the idea for that. Is we've got a lot of followers on Facebook and YouTube and so forth. So we got to keep the music coming, and that's what we did. It was fun to have an excuse to go make a record, two records in Memphis.
Yeah. Well, the Christmas songs are great. I mean, I love the albums, the music that's out there, and y'all can find that on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to music. The Christmas songs are great. I love those. And the other Christmas song that we're going to talk about, Heart's Christmas Blue. I had to look at the title I had written down to make sure I said it correctly. Heart's Christmas Blue. You did that with
Yeah.
a duet partner, Emma Wilson. She's a UK artist, I believe. I said that correct, right?
That's correct.
Um,
We both work with Selecto Hits, the company in Memphis that has the Big Radio Records label that I'm on, and they distribute Emma's music, which she does in the UK and has done some here in
yeah.
the US, and they distribute that around the world. They actually made the connection and said, "You guys ought
Yeah,
to
she's
meet
a
each other
fabulous. She's
someday."
fabulous.
Yeah, she's amazing. So one thing led to another. I think I sent her an email. We did a little texting back and forth on WhatsApp, and I think I said something like, "Hey, we ought to do a record someday." She goes, "Well, I'm coming to the U.S. in September." I'm like, "Oh, cool." I said, "What if I wrote a Christmas song? Would you do a duet with me?" And she said, "Well,
Yeah.
that would be cool." She goes, "I got one day I could do it though, just one day." She said, I'm either traveling or performing, and so I've got September 25th. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And in fact, I wrote this down. I went back, Stacy, and looked. I spoke to her on the phone on September 4th,
Oh,
really, and
wow.
put this idea together. And then I had a first draft of the lyrics done 3 days later on the 7th. And then on the 25th, we were in Memphis at Royal Studios recording that duet, which Ralph Carter collaborated with us. Ralph did the music. I wrote the draft of the lyrics, and then all three of us sort of polished this thing. So we all three collaborated on the song Heart's Christmas Blue, which is a little duet. And I kind of imagined kind of the Christmas of the 1940s or 50s. You got this kind of heartsick guy who's singing about the girl he once had, and you got this heartsick girl singing about the guy she once had, and they're just wondering, can they ever get back together? And so it's
Yeah.
a kind of a Christmas bluesy song. And Stacy, you've heard the record, but I'm not going to tell your listeners and watchers here what happens. They're going to have to listen to the story and
Y'all got to
see
go
if they
listen.
ever get back together.
Yeah. Yep. Y'all got to go listen to find out. Yeah. It's like a,
Yeah. So
it's like a Hallmark Christmas song, bluesy style. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I hope that's okay. I dig that stuff. I mean, I told you I
Yeah,
like
I
the
do too.
Mills
I love it.
Brothers and all this stuff. And Emma Wilson is such an amazing singer, and
She
she's
is,
got
yes.
this. It just makes you melt when you listen to her voice.
Yeah.
There's a line in there uh, that I wrote. It's "Oh, babe, you're going to make me cry," and the way she sings that, it's like I'm going to start
Oh,
crying because
oh,
I asked her. I say, "Hey, baby, what do you think?" And she said, "Oh, you're going to make me cry."
oh,
So it was fun. I just imagined, going back in time and doing this kind of old 1940s kind of back and forth little love song, blues song, duetty song, and then the band at Royal Studios. We worked with their house band called the High Rhythm Section, and those guys are just as good as gold. And gal Lena Beach on guitar. I
yeah,
met them that day. We'd sent a little demo to them, and they were ready to make music. And those that Royal Studios is very famous. They've had people like Charlie Rich and Melissa Etheridge record there, but the big act and the big
yeah,
guy that they discovered was Al Green. And the
yeah,
musicians you hear playing on these two songs of mine, they really played a big part in creating that Memphis sound and that sound for the great soul singer, R&B singer Al Green. And to sit around when we had a little meal between songs and takes, and to hear their stories talking about making music back there in the early 60s and so forth, and having it come right out of Royal Studios in Memphis, man, it just sent chills up my spine. And to think that I got to make a record with those great musicians who created a lot of that sound that we can all identify with, and that they were such wonderful, warm, welcoming people who, I thought, who am I? I'm this guy who just started doing this, and now I'm playing with kind of music royalty. And they were there to help me make a great song. And I just
yeah,
had so much fun working with them at Royal Studios. And the great producer, Boo Mitchell, whose dad started the studios and really kind of created that Al Green song. And his son has kept the legacy going, man. They really put down the groove in Royal Studios. It's just kind of soaked into the walls there.
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. It doesn't that kind of just I don't know when you're in a place like that, it just gives you I don't even know how to describe it. Just kind of gives you a little bit more passion, a little bit more oomph towards what you're doing when you're in a place with so much history.
Yeah, it really did. The building is quite old. It was built in
Yeah,
1915. It was a movie theater, and it's a rather unusual configuration. It's a long, kind of a narrow room that we record in. So, I mean, I've been in a few recording studios, but it's nothing like I'd ever seen. And
yeah.
so, but Charles, the Reverend Charles Hodges, he plays the Hammond B3 organ. His brother Leroy Hodges plays the bass, and Steve Potts plays the drums, and Archie Turner plays the Wurlitzer piano, and then Lena
Mm.
Beach plays guitar. And you go in the studio, and they've been in that studio 1,000 times. They take their seat, they strap on their headphones, and they're ready to make music. And Steve hits the drumsticks, and wow, the magic happens. And I were in the vocal booth together, and I know Boo set it up. Boo Mitchell, the producer who created this magic with that group of people. He set us up in the recording booth across from each other, so we're singing this duet, and I can see Emma over there, and she can see me, and so it was really fun to sing the song kind of to each other. It's kind of a call and response song. I'll do a verse, she does a verse, and then we trade some lines later in the song. So it was fun to write a song that kind of set up that way.
Yeah. Do you want to give just a little teaser of your part of that song?
Well, yeah,
Or is that something you can do with the harmonica?
well, hang. No, I don't think I can
Or,
do it with harmonica, but in particular, and I mentioned how much I like the people to be able to hear the lyrics. And so the funny thing is, I remember when I sat down to write this song, I thought, well, I want people to know this is a Christmas song. So
right.
I wrote down the words Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. Those are the first three words of the song. And so let me get a harmonica. Got to get in tune here. Christmas, Christmas, Christmas feels different this year. Snowflakes start to falling, but no tidings of good cheer. And when old Santa comes a calling, he's gonna bring a tear. Blue Christmas, 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 wishing you were here. So that's the first verse, and then we have Emma kind of sing her side of the story. As you can see, I'm saying, hey, it just kind of feels different this year. You know, I'm gonna get a little tear. Old Santa's not gonna bring me much here, and she sings a little about how I said things feel different, and she says things look different, and she says the lights
Mm.
don't quite sparkle, and they don't quite, I'm not seeing the things. I'm in kind of a foggy haze here. And so I thought that was fun. I'll say, hey, it feels
Yeah.
different, it looks different. And then they start talking about, well, what would I do if I had another chance? And so
Mm.
I'll sing you the bridge here just for fun. If I
Okay.
had another chance at a Christmas time romance, baby, I would try once more with you. And then she sings, I'm just going to read you the words. And I'm sitting by my phone, sitting all alone, wishing that our love was not through. So that's the way the song goes. And then it goes into the last verse. And I play a little, or the band plays a little instrumental in there. And hopefully we're tugging at your heartstrings there.
Oh,
People say,
yeah.
what are you doing writing the blues for Christmas? It's supposed to be a happy time. And I'm like, well, if you're a regular human being, yeah, it is happy, but there's also nostalgia. I was just reading
Yeah.
something the other day about nostalgia. It was actually yesterday about this guy who studies happiness. And nostalgia is kind of a feeling of a little bit of pain for the past. But he was talking about this experiment that the psychologist did that measured that when people felt nostalgia, they actually felt better. And, that's
Mm.
kind of cool. That's kind of back to that,
Yeah.
blues kind of being talk therapy for people.
Yeah.
So I found that real interesting that, yeah, nostalgia, it's a part of Christmas. You think about, when you're a little kid or I'm a little kid, those days are long gone. They won't be back. There are
Yeah.
people who were at your Christmas table or around the Christmas tree, they're not here anymore and they're not coming back. So that's part of Christmas too. And for me, that's the blues of Christmas is that
True.
nostalgia for things that really can't be that way anymore. But it sure is important for us to remember them and to bring them back. So we
Yeah.
tried to bring it back a little bit with this song.
Yeah. That is such a true point. That is so very true. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point.
Well, the funny thing is,
Yeah.
I think this guy in the article was saying how, we sometimes try to avoid thinking about things in the past that are painful. My grandparents aren't here, my parents aren't here.
Yeah.
But his message that I took from his article was that no, you should think about it. And what the scientists say is it will make you feel better. And I'm like, whoa, that's the story of the blues. We're singing about our
Yeah.
troubles, painful things, the hard things, the things that make us sad, and they make us feel better. And maybe that's why blues
Yeah.
music is still, something that so many people can relate to.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's relevant.
yeah, it is. And it
Yeah.
makes you feel good. Isn't that weird? But it makes you
Yeah.
feel
No. I mean, yes and no. Yes and no all at the same time. Yeah, because it is so relevant. I don't think there's a person out here at all that if you've lost your parents or lost your grandparents that you don't think about that, especially at the
oh,
holidays.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I do because
Oh,
Christmas
we
is
all do.
just not the same anymore and it's
No.
not meant to be. You have to make
Yeah.
new memories.
I wrote the second line I wrote in that song. I'm sorry to get hung up in the lyrics here, but
No, you're fine.
it feels different this year. And she said
Yeah.
it looks so different this year. And
Yeah.
it does look different every year, and it's because we can't recapture that past, but we can in our
Mm-mm.
memories. So I
Yeah.
think Arthur Brooks is the guy who wrote this article. He writes books about how to be happy, which is pretty cool. And I've
Yeah.
read a bunch of his stuff, and he says, go ahead, think about the past and the things that aren't with us anymore, and it'll make you feel better. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah. I think we have to. So on that note, what is your favorite Christmas memory?
Oh golly, favorite Christmas memory. I think we had a meal the night before, and what was so special about that is my dad would bring home a case of Coca-Cola in those little
Mm,
bottles. I mean, I'm no spring chicken, so and we really at our home we didn't have Coca-Cola sitting around. That was a special treat.
right.
So my
Oh
dad would
yeah.
bring a one of those wooden crates with 24 bottles of 8-ounce Coke, and we got to have a Coca-Cola, which was pretty cool. And then we had a meal that my mother would make just one time a year, and it's the craziest thing. It was a soup. It was called oyster stew. And what kid in the
Mm.
world wanted to eat oysters? I don't know. But I think she knew that maybe the only way we would eat it is if it was right before Christmas because we had to be good, right? So we choked down that old oyster stew. And what I wouldn't give to have a Coca Cola and a bowl of oyster stew right now. It was a little funky tasting for a little kid, but it meant that Christmas was here. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh, the the simplest memories are oftentimes the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty neat.
it's not the big toy set you got or something like that.
Yeah,
Although it might be like in A Christmas Story, the BB gun, but I get that.
yeah. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's not the biggest items or the biggest
Yeah.
things. It's very, I mean, mine is like thinking about the ornaments on the tree, decorating the
Mm,
tree with my grandmother. And,
yeah.
there
Oh,
were just special ornaments that my grandmother had.
oh,
And they all just had special meanings to her. It was just decorating the tree with her. Now it's oftentimes, I just don't even care about putting a tree up. It's like my kids are grown and they're gone and they have their
yeah,
own families and they don't come here for Christmas. It's,
yeah,
or, not, they're not here on Christmas morning. I should clarify that. They're not here to wake up on Christmas morning anymore.
yeah,
And it's like, it's a struggle for me to even want to put a Christmas tree up anymore. And, my grandma's not here. And
yeah.
I don't know. It's
Well,
just
that's the
those,
Christmas blues. That's the Christmas
it
blues. It really is
is.
there. So,
Yeah.
and funny thing is, I put up on Spotify, I put a Christmas blues playlist. I had such fun putting it together, and most of them are ones you've never heard before,
Yeah.
and they're old blues songs. I did put an Elvis one on there, and it's not Blue Christmas; it's another one. And
Oh.
Elvis, man, that dude could sing the blues.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't think of the name of that Elvis song, but go to Christopher Wyze and the Tellers on Spotify, and you'll get about an hour and a half of kind of really cool and funky and weird kind of Christmas blues songs that I kind of put together. It was fun, just a blast digging for them. So they're all up there. People can listen to them.
yeah. I haven't done my Christmas list. I usually do a Christmas playlist, and
Ah,
I haven't done that. I need to put one together. So
there you
I have
go.
to.
And do you put it on Spotify for
Yeah,
folks?
I do.
Wonderful,
Yep, I
wonderful.
sure do. So I'll have to put one together really quick and see that. I might have to check yours out and see what you've got on there. So
You
yeah.
should.
But yeah, your
Another.
Christmas song will go on there for sure. Your Christmas
Ah,
song
that's
will go
so
on my
cool.
list.
That's so cool. The other thing I think I mentioned, but we did film the session where we recorded those songs. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Christopher
Okay.
Wyze and the Tellers on YouTube, you'll see the studio inside the famous Royal Studio, and you'll say, "Oh my goodness! Wow, what a look!" I mean, it's
Oh,
just so
cool.
cool. You'll watch the musicians play. We had 5 cameras set up that day, and my good friend Coop Cooper from Clarksdale, Mississippi, came up to film it for us. And so we filmed Heart's Christmas Blue with Emma and me. And then we filmed Christmas in Jail, which was me and the band. And then Emma did a song of her own, What Are You Doing New Year's, with the band. And we
Ooh,
filmed that one
okay.
too. So Emma has just released her song. I'm here talking about our songs, and Emma's out talking about the one we did. And then she's got one that she did with the band called "What Are You Doing New Year's," which is such a cool song.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's
Sounds
a
cool.
yeah, I love it. I love it. She does such a beautiful job with it. So, but if you go to YouTube, you can see what the Royal Studios looks like and the players, and you'll see Lena Beach, who I think you'll hear that name again. Lena is 25 ish years old, and she has joined the high rhythm section, which is a bunch of really seasoned musicians. And I think they've taken her under their wing. And it's just really cool to see these sort of Mount Rushmore kind of guys of music and their respect for her as a musician. And I was just, it was such a great experience to see them working together to make a song and how
Yes.
they did it, and to see Boo Mitchell, the producer, you know, you know, come work with the musicians, work with us. Hey, Leroy, I want you to, no, do this here. And Charles, I think we need to hit this here on the Hammond organ. And I remember, Boo was saying, let me write a chart for that. Here's what I'm hearing, and collaborating. We're just making this music from, a little demo that Ralph and I did. He strummed a guitar and I sang both parts. That's all these guys had ever heard, was me singing both parts of that duet and Ralph playing it on the guitar. And they're absolute pros. They know music backwards and forwards. And but you're creating it there. We, for the most part, recorded the song live. I think there was a little bit that we might have come back in, and maybe Lena did a little bit more on the guitar, but you'll see us make the song, and you'll hear it right there on the YouTube video.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to check that out for sure. So we can find that on your YouTube channel.
Wyze and the Tellers, just search for it. We've got
Yeah.
a channel. We have many, many videos because, as I said, we really haven't been out there touring. So I said, hey, I got to send my music out. And
Yeah.
so that's why we did a live album, and that's why we filmed it, because we've had people say, when can I see you perform? Where can I see you perform? And
Yeah.
well, you can go to YouTube and you can watch it. It's not quite the same, but
Yeah.
we're starting to put a schedule together for next year. We'll release that, and who knows where it will take us, but it's time to get on stages. And that for
Yeah.
me is probably the most fun of being a musician, is performing. And so I can't wait to do more of it. And I was always performing someone else's songs, as a kid, doing musicals and things in high school. You're singing other people's songs. And now I've done a few gigs where I've been able to perform, my songs
Do
I've
your
written with a
own.
couple
Yeah.
other folks, and it's a different feeling, and super special to be able to do it. So, and then to watch people, oh, they don't hate me. This is cool, and so it's just fun. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be super fun
That's
for you
what
to get
musicians
out there and
are always worried. Yeah, but we're always worried what people think of us, and it's fun to get out there and see how the music flies. And it's been fun to see some of the songs that I didn't know people would relate to become maybe some of the ones that are played the most on Spotify. I was like, oh, it'll definitely be this one. Well,
yeah.
what do I know? I couldn't have been more wrong. And one of them was a last minute addition we did in the studio called Money Spent Blues, that we made up pretty much one morning from an old set of lyrics that I had written and forgotten about. And Ralph said, song we're working on, it's not working. We need to do another song. He said, I've got a song here. You don't have to do it, but I'll play a demo. You can take it and do it with the band. And I'm like, Ralph, I'm having a flashback. I wrote a song before I ever met you, and it's on my computer. I'd forgotten I even wrote it. It was called Money Spent Blues. It was about this guy who every time he sees a commercial, he has to buy the product, so he's broke all the time. So that's really and I wrote it because I was an advertising guy. So that was really what it was about, is about how this guy, he's the world's greatest sucker. And so I wrote a song about that. And I thought, well, Ralph, here you go. Here's the lyrics. I think it's kind of silly. And he's like, no, I like it. I'm like, okay. It was the first song I ever wrote, and I even forgot about it. He's like, no, we can make this work. So off we marched into the studio, and he conjured up the arrangement, and we just recorded it that day. And it's been really well accepted on Spotify and streaming and all that kind of stuff.
Sometimes it's the ones you least expect to do well actually end up doing the best.
That one was funny. I, imagine myself as this real serious, I'm going to write these down in the dirt blues songs. And then I write this kind of silly one, and people love it. So I got to remember that to not take it all too seriously and occasionally
Yeah,
write a silly song. We have another song I wrote called Stuck in the Mud, which is a little bit of a silly song, but
yeah,
it's a fun little blues song. And everybody's been stuck in the mud at one time or another in their life. And so we wrote that one about that.
yep. Sometimes you just have to, as you said, not take everything so seriously and just let loose and just have fun with something, and people will enjoy that just as much.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today so much. It's been so much fun. I've enjoyed getting to know you and your music a little bit better, your Christmas music especially. So just, it has been so much fun. What can we expect next from Christopher Wyze, aside from touring next year? Hopefully you come
Yeah.
to North Carolina.
Oh, that'd be cool. Bring us down there. We'll do it. I've had some conversations with Ralph Carter, my friend and producer and co-writer of many songs, and we said, Ralph, he and I both kind of said it's probably time to make some new music and make a new album. So
All
that's
right.
really right at the top of the list, and our hope would be to record, next summer ish, and
Okay.
have a new record for everybody. And so I can't
Awesome.
wait to see what we come up with. I have no idea where these songs come from, and I, I we make them in the studio. They don't exist, and then to be able to make them with a group of musicians and guys like Ralph is just man, it's really cool. And
Yeah.
so we will try to do that again in 2026. For now, people should go to our website, Stacy, ChristopherWyze.com, ChristopherWyze.com. I put links to everything in there, all our videos and music, and anywhere you stream music, you can find Christopher Wyze and the Tellers. So we're out there as well. You can even buy a CD. We even make CDs, and you can go to my website and you can get those from Big Radio Records, which is a great record label that we're on.
All
That's
right.
the story.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And of course, when this airs, I will have all the links to everything down below so everyone will be able to find you easily. So, again, thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a great pleasure.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Stacy. It was such fun to talk with you. I just felt like we were just having a conversation, and it was a heck of a lot of fun. Thank you.
That is the way I intend for it to be. So, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did as well. I hope you guys enjoyed watching as much as we enjoyed talking with each other. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And remember, be kind to each other. Bye bye.